it's Jen and I'm here with another layout for Pink Paislee. Today I thought I would use my scraps and this punch, which I almost never use, and just create some sort of background for this layout about, it's kind of about my daughter growing up, but how I found her in her room. She was just watching a show on her, I think she was on her Kindle or on her phone anyway, and just laughing out loud, and it was just cute. So I just wanted to punch a bunch of my scraps and create something and just have a little bit of fun today. So that's what I'm going to do.
All right, so I'm starting by looking through my papers and kind of trying to figure out a color scheme. I want to try to go with light colors. I feel like Pink Paislee is really known for their bright patterns and happy colors, but I wanted to get some pastel shades here. So I'm going with all of these kind of light, really soft looking colors. And so I'm just kind of picking that out as I go through my scraps and try to decide what I want to punch out and what I want to use. And I'm trying to get a variety of different patterns and styles while still staying in, like, I'm kind of trying to get more patterns that are a little bit more solid, not quite so many, like single color patterns almost. And so you'll see me punching out some different things here that I won't end up using because they have too many colors in them, and I kind of wanted to go with a single color for each rectangle. Now, of course, if you don't have a punch like this, you could definitely just cut them out with your trimmer, and that works just as well. It's just really nice and easy with the punch. So if you don't think you need a rectangle punch, you probably don't, but it's kind of handy. So what I'm doing now is kind of arranging them in rainbow order. And so I'm going from pink to that peachy color as my orange, then yellow, then green, and then I'll get a little bit like the darker aqua and then to the purple. And I'm just kind of arranging these in a brick pattern for now and trying to decide how to kind of split these up and arrange them so that they look nice and still in that kind of rainbowy order. And I like the way that this looks, but in the end I decide to go with something that's a little bit more like I mentioned before, a solid color for each square. And so I go back to my scraps and I'm trying to find things where the color is more solid for each square or for each rectangle than what I have right now. So instead of using some of the patterns that have multiple colors, I don't mind if they have white, but instead of using some of the patterns that have several colors in them, like that one down at the bottom right, that's from the new Whimsical collection, I'd end up ditching that. I did find the one that says shine, and I thought that was really cute, and so I punched that one out, and that's from a 3x4 card. And then I'm just, flipping through my scraps. I keep all of my Pink Paislee scraps together because they a lot of them coordinate, and so I'm just flipping through kind of that bag of scraps that I have. So I'll have a lot of extra rectangles punched, and I could make another layout out of those, or I have made rectangular like grid style layouts like this on a card, and that works really well for a card background. So if you have some extra scraps that you want to get used up. Now I went to my stash and punched a couple of rectangles out and then decided against using them because I remembered that I had this 6x6 paper pad from the what is this, Cool Kid? Not Cool Kid, that was a Crate Paper collection. Wild Child collection, and I punched out some of the cloud paper, and I really like the way that the clouds look, and in fact this will influence some of my embellishment decisions later. So I really liked the purple, and I got some of that other kind of cloud paper at the top with the pink, and I'm loving that, so I will go ahead and continue with those. And it's going to take me a minute to kind of arrange these and figure out how many rows I need, and I don't want to put any behind my photo that I don't need. And before I go ahead with this, I decide that I want to do a little bit of mixed media on the background. So I am using Vicky Bouton mixed media paper. I love that paper. It's nice and thick. And I feel like if I'm just doing some splattering or some smushing, that I don't need to worry about putting down any gesso or anything like that, and so I really like that. So I'm kind of flipping through some of my inks and my sprays, and I'm going to make a little bit of an ombre on the background of the colors, and it turns out so pretty. So I am using Tattered Rose Distress Spray, some Squeezed Lemonade Distress Ink, and some Splash and Bazinga Mr. Huey's. So those are a little bit older. And then I think it's, what is that? Shaded Lilac? No, it's not Shaded Lilac. I'm trying to remember what that purpley color is. It's so pretty. Milled Lavender, I think. Yeah. Is it? Milled Lavender? Yes. Such a pretty purple, and that is like my favorite color right now. So I'm just basically smushing it on the background and trying to get this rainbow look here. And I don't want too much, so I'm dabbing up a little bit with some paper towel. And then here comes the Milled Lavender, and it's such a pretty color. It gets a little bit muddy when I mix it with the green there, but it's not too bad. I'm going to go with it. It kind of bothers me. So the top is kind of rounded. I don't know if you can tell that. And the bottom gets a little bit square, but it ends up being fine. I don't worry about it too much. I decided to put just the tiniest bit of a darker purple in with this Milled Lavender, just because it's such a soft, pretty color and it's perfect on its own, but when you water it down, it's a little bit light. And so I just added the teensiest bit of Dusty Concord in with it, and that helped it be just a little bit darker. So there's that. And then I let that dry, and look how soft and pretty that is. So here's where I'm going to go ahead and match up my colors and do my little brick pattern. And at this point, I'm just kind of sliding things in next to the photos, but I will get a more solid way down in a minute. I'm just like, these don't all fit together. I'm just kind of randomly sticking them there, and so I will make it fit here. I just didn't want to stick any really behind the photos that weren't going to show. Not that I have a problem with that, and not that I don't have enough pattern paper, because I do, but you know. So I'm trying to center the rectangles so that so the center of the rectangle above the two rectangles below is like lined up with the line in the middle. I'm sure you guys know how to make a brick pattern. I don't need to explain that, but I'm just being like aware of that. And you could offset it for sure, but so I'm just trying to decide like which ones. I have way too many punched, and so I'm trying to decide like which ones are going to make the cut, which ones look the best, and which ones do I want on display. And so I'm just kind of trying to figure that out a little bit, and trying to decide if I like those white, the ones that have a little bit more white on them, and I decide that I do. And so I'm going to use a ruler here. I'm using my T-square ruler just because I want to make sure this is straight. And so I'm going to glue all of those down. I spared you from watching me do that, but here I'm doing that. So here's the other thing that kind of bugged me. At the bottom, there are 3 rectangles, and at the top, there are 4. So I would have done 3 more, but it was going to be too much. It was going to be too tall. And so I just let it go. I stitched through each row of rectangles, and then I'm pulling the threads through to the back and taping them down with just some washi tape. And unless I'm going to let the threads hang on the front, I usually pull them through and tape them on the back, just so that I can make sure that they'll stay put and not do what they're not supposed to and not unravel. Who knows? Someday they may unravel anyway, but it's keeping my peace of mind for now. So and then just trimming up the threads. And now I have this pretty little background. I love it. So I'm going to work on my title now, and I'm going to use those thickers from the new Whimsical collection. And the kind of peachy color on the back is the perfect color to match the top row of my rectangles. So I'm going to put my title at the top, and it's going to be, Have I Mentioned That I Love Her? And I kind of took this from the the journaling that I did when I posted this photo on Instagram, and I just kind of said what she was doing, and then at the end of the post said, have I mentioned that I love her? And it's true. I love my kid. She's so cute. So I'm going to kind of overlap it onto the photo, and now I'm pulling out some clouds, and I'm going to kind of layer those up by color. So I am embellishing by color on this layout. I have done that a ton lately, definitely influenced by Erit Landgraf and Paige, definitely Paige Evans too. It just, if you're going for a softer feel, but you still want to use some stuff and make it cute and play with your embellishments, then embellishing by color is a great way to do it, because the colors, you still have that distinct area of color. The embellishments don't pull your eye too much. Your focus is still definitely on the photo, and you still get to use stuff. So it's the best of both worlds. And right now I'm just pulling out kind of all sorts of different things that might match it. Hearts, little circles, button shapes and stuff like that. But mostly the clouds. I'm liking the clouds. And so I kind of put away most of the other embellishments. I just have the hearts and the clouds now. And I'm going to pop my photo up on some foam. This is what you can see me doing there. And now I am going to write my journaling. So I just wrote my journaling on the top. I'm writing it with a pencil to start with, just so that I can make sure I leave myself enough room. You can see on my little black post-it note there, I have my journaling written down, and I wanted it to be above my title, because my title is the end of what I had written on Instagram. So I'm just basically writing the same thing, and it ends with, have I mentioned that I love her? So I went ahead and wrote that down. I used a light gray pen. So it's very subtle. And that is a Stabilo 0.88 fine 0.4. I don't know if it's 0.4 or 0.4 as I'm looking at it here, but it's a light gray. And it's kind of a cool gray too. So now I'm just putting down my title, lining it up with the top of the photo. It's nice to have lines to line things up with. So have I is lined up with the top of the rectangles, and then mentioned is lined up with the top of the photo. And then I'm just kind of eyeballing love her, and that I is lined up with the top of the photo too. So here I have my little clouds that I found in the die cuts and in the chipboard, and I'm kind of looking for, so I have one in each color. I have an aqua colored one, I have a purple colored one, I have a pink one, and a yellow one. And I think I find one more, but maybe I don't. I can't remember if I just did 3 or 4, but I think one of them I had to cut out of a patterned paper. I had to fussy cut it. Just because I didn't have enough. I've been using clouds a lot lately, but I feel like clouds really work on a layout like this, where A, she's in bed, but B, I'm trying to keep it really soft and ethereal looking. And so I felt like it really worked. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm punching out some hearts in the exact same patterns as the ones that are already on the background, and I'm going to do some tone on tone embellishment. And I thought about outlining each one with a white gel pen, but I decided against it because they're kind of too light. And so I do start doing it on like I did it on the purple one, but I will end up switching that out. So right now I'm just punching the hearts. I have 2 different heart punches. Those are from Hobby Lobby, and they're just in 2 different sizes. And I'm just going to kind of scatter those around on the layout, and I'm going to pop each one up so that you can, because they're the exact same paper that's behind them, just to give them a little bit of a pop. Like, I don't want them to be too distracting, but just to give them a little something, I am popping them up so they get that little bit of shadow, and then you can see the dimension, but it's not too distracting still. So I really like the way that kind of plays out. So I'm still punching all of the hearts, and just grabbing out all of the papers I had used before, and I kind of try to line up the pattern even on the paper. So if it has a pattern, I will try to line up the pattern exactly. So on that hexagon paper, I'm putting the hearts exactly over where, so it looks like the pattern is continuous. And so that's kind of what I'm trying to go for. It doesn't always work out, but it does. Where it does, I'm doing it, if that makes sense. So here I'm just laying them on. Like right now on the video, you probably can't even see them. They are very subtle, and that is the reason, again, that I popped them up. If you wanted to not pop them up, or if you wanted to give them a little bit more definition, you could ink the edges in the same color too, and that would help them stand out a little bit as well. Or you could outline them. If they weren't quite so light, I might have outlined them. So when I have a really small embellishment, rather than cutting down a tiny piece of foam, I kind of just layer up some mini glue dots. So I put like 3 or 4 and then layer them up and stick it down, and it works really well. So that's a good way to pop things up if they're teeny tiny and you don't need a ton of dimension. And so you can kind of see those hearts now a little bit better than you could when they were just kind of resting there. You can see them popped up a little bit, and it gives just the right amount of definition to them, I think. So I'm just trying to get like a couple of sizes. So I punched out 2 sizes of hearts, and so I'm trying to get each size on each color, and I'm just trying to scatter them just basically all around on the different colors, and I try to make it so that I have visual triangles somewhat. And then I stitched around the outside just a square, and I really love the detail that gives. So stitching gives another great detail when you're doing something simple. And there I'm trying to give you a little bit of a closer look. So here are some still photos. I hope that you enjoyed this layout. You can really see the detail and the dimension in these close-up photos. I loved creating this, and I love the softer feel that it has. I hope that you enjoyed, and if you want to see more videos like this, be sure to check out these ones right here. If you don't subscribe already, please do, and join us in my Facebook group, Crafty Use It or Lose It, which is linked below in the video description, as well as all supplies that I have used. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.